One question I often get asked is how we load vans onto these car transporters and how we split the peak. Well, I'm now going to show you how you do it. The very first thing we're going to have to do is move these straps here, as they're attached to the peak deck and we want that to be separate. Now that that's done and the straps are up there out of the way, we can now lift up the peak itself at the back. That can be done by using these levers here on the top of the pillar. Once that is done, we've got these van plates here which we need to fold over. And now that they're folded over, we can now lower the back of the peak back down again. Now that the peak deck is now back down, we need to lift the front of deck 5 and 6 up. In doing so, as that deck goes up, the van plate there will push up on the deck, on the peak. In doing so, the van plates will now push up against the peak deck, taking them away from these latches, which we can fold over. As you can see, the pin is now lifted away from the latch and that can now be folded over. Doing the exact same on the opposite side. As that bracket now has been folded over, that leaves plenty of room for the pin to freely drop down the side and allow the peak to hinge down from that point there near the rear of the cab. And now, as you can see, the rear of the peak is a lot lower than what it was in the normal store position. Thus meaning when you drive a van on, the back of the peak deck will not catch the underside of the van as you lower the back of deck 5 and 6 down. The best practice when loading the van onto the now split peak is to have the rear wheels resting on the back of deck 5. That gives you plenty of clearance underneath to slide deck 6 back in without it dragging the rear wheels of the van forward. Depending on the size of the van that you're actually loading onto the tractor unit, you have a couple of options on the peak deck. You have the main deck itself, you have this now folded down bit of the peak, or you can fold those bits over, which opens up a wheel well to reduce the height of the van that's now on the unit. And then depending on what van you're loading, you will bring the back of deck 5 and 6 down to the bottom like that, which will then reduce the overall height of the van on the truck. And by splitting the peak, it just gives you a longer surface area before it will clash with the underside of the van that you're loading. To go back to standard transportation setup, it is quite simply just the reverse order of what I've just shown you. And when transporting 3 big vans, your truck setup will be something similar to this. One van on 5 and 6 there, driven on. One van on deck 1 and 2 there, reversed on. And then the final van in the back on deck 10 and 9, driven on. As an added bonus, one key feature of the Odyssey by Transporter Engineering is the adjustable front section of deck 3, as you can see by the holes just there. To aid in loading vans, you want to move that deck up above the actual beam of the frame of the trailer. And moving that deck is achieved just by simply pulling on that wire, which removes some spring-loaded pins at the end. and then by resting the deck on top like that will give you some extra headroom underneath when loading your third barrel. And that is the Peak deck back in normal load configuration. Hope you enjoyed this little tutorial video. This is how I do splitting the Peak. Obviously there'll be different variations of doing this according to different companies, so please do check with your employer first, but this will just give you a rough idea of how to do it. If you did like this tutorial video, please do leave a comment below and give the video a like. If there's any other tutorial video you'd like me to do on car transporters, please do leave a comment below and I shall see if I can accommodate that for you. Anyway, thanks for watching and I shall see you all soon.